don't mind tonight. Play for over.
Depends. Will your friend, the footballer, be there?
Oh, friend, football friend.
Oh, what a superb goal. Stefan Moore, that is extraordinary from Ben Garuccio.
Happy New Year, football friends! You're listening to the first episode for 2024 with Ben Garuccio and Stefan Walk. Coming up to kick us off for the year, there's been an absolute goal fest of an A-League weekend to reflect on. Here the boys discuss round 10, their top 5 Aussie football moments of 2023, and of course the recent APL ladder changes. And in line with the recent festive period, the boys bring out stories of Christmas team nights out from years gone by. All that and much, much more coming up on Football Friends!
Hello guys and welcome back to Football Friends with Ben and Stef. We took a little break over the Christmas period. Steph's a busy man with his son, so he didn't want to do a Christmas episode this year. But we're back for 2024. Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And Happy New Year to you, Steph.
Yeah, thanks. It's wasn't just me. You've been busy as well. Busy losing games anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a different Christmas, but yeah, we hope all our listeners had a good festive period, Christmas into New Year's. Nobody really knows what day it is, so that's why we kind of thought we'll let that one go, and then back for the New Year's one. I guess coming into the Unite round, as we've spoken about, we've got a giveaway, which is really exciting, and then it's a big episode recapping of 2023. And then obviously touching on the games gone by and a little bit on our Christmas do's or nights out, which I think most listeners will be interested to hear about that.
Should we get straight into our top Aussie moments of 2023?
Well, let's do a little bit of a recap. I know you don't want to talk about the football.
I reckon we skip the recap this week.
We can skip every Western United game where you lose, so you're happier, because I know it's a sticking point. I called you this morning, and it was a very hard conversation for me. I got to training with Adelaide, because I'm training with them in the off season, and honestly, I felt depressed after listening to you. It's not good times.
I took the energy.
But that's the joys. That's the joys of football. You know, like in 5 weeks' time, you'll probably be on top of the world, get a few wins. But it's tough. It's not easy. And being a player, I guess, being a fan as well, you know, the fans feel it. But being a player, being an Arsenal fan, if I look at it from being an Arsenal fan and then being a football player, I think the good thing with Arsenal, you know, they disappoint me a lot, but I can kind of forget about it. Like, you know, when they don't play for 3 or 4 days, you can forget about it until they play again. But being a player, it's just every day. Like, you go into training, you're losing games, you're trying to do the exact same things, but everything, you know, like it could be small things that happen at the club and everything's negative because you're losing games where you feel like you should win, or it's tough. But you know what? Only the start of the year, and you can turn it around very quickly. So we want to see Garuccio smiling. That's what we want for this podcast.
I was smiling. It's just, we've spoken about it before earlier in the year. It's the worst thing in the world. So it doesn't change, doesn't get any easier. But I think the thing is, like, it's not just the start of the year. You know, we're 10 games in now. It's hard. It is hard. It's been a tough start to the year.
But all right, we'll move on, and I guess we'll go to our first game. And it could always be worse. That's the one thing with football. It can always be worse. You could have been Brisbane Roar on the weekend getting smacked 8-1. And like, that's a disaster. You know, obviously Ross has left. That's massive news. We hadn't spoken about that, obviously, because we missed out on the last episode. But Ross leaving was a shock. He's got a massive opportunity to go and join Kevin Muscat in China, which is great for him. Just like players, coaches are ambitious. And I think, you know, A-League clubs need to be realistic. And the pecking order in Asia, we probably are that, you know, probably 4th tier, 5th tier, really, when you look at some of the money you can earn in other places. So fair play to him, and, you know, change of coach. It's unsettling for players. You go out there, sometimes, you know, it can go the other way and you're really excited to impress the interim coach. But for Brisbane Roar, it was all but impressing.
Yeah, no, I don't think there weren't many positives to take out of it. I actually listened to Luch Trenny's post-match interview, and it's hard. Like even for him, he's stepping in, and Raw were really kind of the team that everyone was a bit excited about this year, what they were building, and Ross looked like he had them playing an exciting brand of football, and I think they sort of just, obviously after losing to us, lost again, and they were maybe going to go through that kind of tough patch, which Ross probably hasn't experienced as a head coach because they started so well. And then, obviously, you get that opportunity, you get that call, and look, let's be honest, if you get an opportunity like that, I think 99% of coaches are going to take that, and you can't blame him. It's not his fault. He got a great opportunity and he took it. But yeah, it does kind of leave Brisbane Roar in a bit of a sticky situation for the rest of the season. And I think furthermore, past the game, they've obviously now appointed Ben Card, which is that's another exciting appointment, I think, for Roar. He's been talked about with numerous other jobs around the country. I think Central Coast when Monty left. So now he's got his opportunity. So that's going to be an exciting one. But yeah, the game itself, 8-1, City looked back to their best. I think they had a couple of players like Leo Natel, who hasn't really probably settled yet in the league. And he had a great game. Arslan again had a great game. Jamie McLaren pops up with a hat trick. So yeah, it was a top performance. But yeah, if you're Brisbane Roar, you're
and what did he say? What did McLaren say? People said I was finished. In the post-match interview. So yeah. I think I love that. I love that from him. I think he's made a few comments, and we've got to try and get him on because a few people actually have sent in asking. So we'll try and get him on here. He's a busy man, and he doesn't do a lot of interviews. But I like that. Having personality. He believes he should be in the Socceroos squad, as he should. He came out and said, obviously the coaches made the decision. His record he thinks speaks for itself. And then he pops up, if you're going to talk like that, you got to back it up. And he's always done that. So I think people thinking he's finished, he's maybe now got a point to prove. And they've lit the fire underneath him to maybe bang in a few more goals this season. Maybe you'll catch Bruno's 13 by the time Bruno comes back from the Asian Cup. So it'll be interesting. And like you said, City, you give them a game like that and then they're firing, they're confident, every player. Yakulis, they're all buzzing, which is not what you want for the other teams in the league because City do have that quality. But anyway, exciting times for Brisbane Roar moving forward with a new coach. They had to make that swift adjustment, and so we spoke to Zach, and he was pretty honest with us. I'm sure if we had him on this week, he would have said we probably did plan to have Luciano training as the interim for multiple weeks. But when you get a result like that, as a club, you need to make a stand. You need to kind of straight away steer the ship to be going in the right direction. And they've done that. Ben Khan was obviously under their noses anyway, but should be a good appointment. As you said, is someone that looks like he's, one of the most talented young coaches. He just needs a platform and he's got it now. But going into, the Master V, the Prodigy, and the next one with Sydney FC against Wellington, Ufi spoke about, the relationship with Chiefy, and I'm sure it was a bit of an interesting game. It's actually a really exciting game as well to watch that. And Sydney FC deserved to win it. Wellington were trying to play out and they got caught so many times. I think Sydney FC probably should have punished them more in the first half, but it went back to 1-1 and then finished with 3-1. But for me, the player that stood out was Old. Ben Old, I think is his first name. I just know the last. He was quality. He was.
Yeah, he was good.
He, what? Who do you think he reminds you of? If you had to say one player that you've maybe played with or seen,
maybe like a Riley McGree.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying today at the club.
Really?
He's left-footed. He's powerful. He's obviously a midfielder, I think, by trade, but he can play on the wing. He can play in a 4, I guess, in the midfield across there because he's got that pace. He can dribble with the ball, but he can shoot. He's a Riley McGree 2.0. So if he follows the same trajectory as Riley, Wellington will get a decent transfer fee for him, and he's going to do pretty well for the All Whites in the future as well. So it'll be interesting. They play Adelaide United this week. So I'll head down and watch that game and see him firsthand. Maybe be booing him from the sidelines, try and get stuck into him. But good game. We'll skip over the next one because I don't think you want to talk about it. I don't think we need to talk about it unless you want to.
Oh, look, I don't mind talking about it. it's not great to talk about, but look, it was still a game in the league, and like credit to Newcastle at the end of the day. We've played them twice. I thought the first time we played them that, we deserved more out of the game, but this time can't really say too much, to be honest. They got a man sent off, AP. He had the captain's armband on, actually, Stammer. And he was working hard. Like the whole team was, like they were up for the fight big time. And I think the way that we started the game, the first probably 20 or so minutes, that kills you. And then you're 2-0 down, and then you got a mountain to climb. And I think that's probably been a story of our season a little bit, that we've done that too much and afforded teams, leads like that. And then the game it's just an uphill battle after that. And credit to Newcastle, because you know what, they were up for the fight. They defended like animals when they went down to 10 men, and at the end of the day, they took their chances. We had a few chances as well, but you can't give teams 2-goal leads, especially when they're not. I think the first goal was good. The second goal could have been definitely avoided. Comes from our corner, and you just can't concede easy goals and give teams those opportunities. And they did well. For us, it's we got to go back. We got to find a way to start winning games, because that's the environment that we're in, professional environment. We got to win games, and we have to find a way fast.
Yep. Well, we'll go straight on to the next one in the original rivalry again. One weird thing that I don't like as a player, I don't know what the fans think, and obviously there's reasons why the APL schedule it, but I think it's weird, when you play each team 3 or some teams 3 times, I think you should have to play the home and away leg before you play. Like Adelaide only played them a few weeks ago, like 4 or 5 weeks ago away, and now they've played away again. Like it's a big like step up and advantage, obviously, for victory against Adelaide. Of course, they can play them at home and Adelaide can win, but I don't know. I just think it looks strange. Like I think they need to look at and ideally we get to 16 teams relatively soon in the next few seasons. But if we don't, you need to play home and away before you play 2 home games or 2 away games, I think, because it's a strange thing, but we obviously don't work for the APL. But the game itself was quality. Like it was a good quality game. I actually had a few friends messaging me about it and saying it was a good game even when it was 0-0. Like it was exciting. Gauchi came up with a few big saves. I think Victory.
Yeah.
And speaking to the Adelaide boys, they said the same thing. Victory are the best team so far that they've played. They're not unbeatable, which is, I guess they haven't lost this year, so technically seems like they are, but or this season. But they're the best team. They're the most consistent team. I think they're very solid in the way Popper's got them set up, and they've just got enough quality, like going forward. Whether it's Bruno, obviously stepping up, or Marchand in the middle, Nish Valufalay's been really good again. Like I think they've got enough quality. Plus on the bench, when you can bring on Primer and Economides, like they've just got a great squad, as we've spoken about. So they're they're actually second, because that goes into the other point we're going to talk about with the APL changing the rules. So Wellington are actually top on 1 wins rather than goal difference. So it's good to find that out 3/4 or a third, whatever it is, away through the season. But still, Victory for me are the favourites. But it will be interesting to see how they go now that Fornaroli's leaving, gone away with the Asian Cup. It's a striker is probably the one position you'd say that they don't have a second player, right?
Yeah, well, he's kind of the man. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Who knows if maybe one of those front 3 moves into a 9 position, because you've obviously there's a lot of depth there. Obviously, you've got Brumo, you've got Economides, Falami, these kinds of players. So maybe one of them does shift into more of a 9 position. I think we've seen Economides play there in the past. So who knows? Who knows what they'll do? But yeah, lucky the whole table kerfuffle happened now and not round 26, because that would have been pretty strange if you thought goal difference, boys, we're fine here. Like all we got to get is a draw, and then you end up not coming top. So yeah, that was a little bit of a strange one to find out. And as I said, lucky we found out now. And we had a brief chat about it, and we were like, you know what, it's actually good. The team that's won the most games should deserve it. But then I was thinking, like, imagine you go through an invincible season, you don't lose, like Melbourne Victory, let's say they keep going, but they obviously draw a few games, and then they end up not winning the league because they haven't won as many games as another team. Would you still think that's fair?
Yeah, it's I don't know. Like, I guess if you've drawn that many games, and you haven't lost, it's like, well, you probably would say you're the best team. But then the other one, the other flip side to it, I guess, is the other team's won the most games. Like, they've won a lot more games, so they've been the most dominant team. But I don't know. I think either one, to be honest. Like, if you go the whole season and you finish on equal points, I don't know. I think you should almost just play a game, like a one-off game. Like, fucking hell. Like, what are the chances you're both that even? And I know it's hard because we've already got the finals here, but in other leagues around the world, like, if you're not getting there because of goal difference, like, fuck, it shows how even you are. But I guess that's the way it's been always. So it's interesting that why the A-League's obviously changed it. I'm sure they've come out with a statement. I haven't seen it, but anyway, it is what it is. Let's see how Victory cope without the El Tuna. And then we go on to the New Year's. This was actually perfect because this is how I spent my New Year's this year. On the couch, me, Carla, Orlando. Orlando was watching a bit of the game, wasn't really too interested in either of the teams. But it was a top game because so many goals, few red cards, a lot of decisions that could have probably went Perth Glory's way and they didn't. But it was just one of those days. I don't think the referee wasn't favoritism. It was just, it was what it was. Got to see the fireworks at the end of the game as well on the TV. They were the only fireworks I saw that night. And yeah, it was a good all-round game. Central Coast now, like, you talked about you guys struggling. I look at Central Coast, we were kind of a little bit like, they're doing pretty bad. They've lost a lot of players, new coach. You don't know much about him. Everyone was smashing Torres, saying the players aren't good enough. You win a few games and everyone's like, oh, how good is Central Coast again? Torres is great. He's got a hat-trick. He's looking dangerous. Tulio's last game before he goes to Japan, which we can touch on a bit as well. But, they've won a few games and now all of a sudden I think they're back up in the 6. So it can change very, very quickly, can't it?
Yeah, no, it changes so quickly. And we spoke about Central Coast. We spoke about it, I think, on our last episode, the way they've managed to turn it around. And, they lost all those players, like we said. But, yeah, they're playing really, really well. I think the players that have stuck around are now, like, really lifting and putting in some good performances. So, for me, like, Nisbet has been the big standout. And even Farrell, to be honest, as a left back, like he's a top player. He's someone that I think is a very good left back in this league. And then obviously, you've got your foreigners and stuff. So credit to Marco Tullio, like another one that's probably benefited from the Central Coast Mariners' rise in the last 12 months or in 2023. And yeah, good on him. He's come here to Australia. I know Daniel Pena is really close with him and speaks very, very highly of him and says how much of a good player he was even when they were younger. So yeah, good on him. Best of luck to him in Japan. And I suppose it is a big miss for Central Coast, but will be interesting to see how they get on going forward.
Yeah, no, I think that will be probably, like, I know Nisbet's been like really, really solid, and I think Kautak at the back is quite good, and Vukovic, like the spine of the team. But I reckon Tullio makes him tick. Like he's the one that's, whether he's assisting or scoring, but as a defender, like, you're always aware of him. You probably commit more players to him, which opens up other players. So you kind of need the other players to take that responsibility now. Qual obviously scored on the weekend, but I'm sure they're going to look to bring someone in. I heard a rumor that they're looking at an English striker. I don't know if it's been announced or if it's done deal, but you'd assume with the link with the coach, obviously you look to normally bring players in from the areas and he's from England. So we'll see what they do. But yeah, congrats to Tullio. I think it shows you come to the A-League and perform well. If you want to get into that Asian market, it's good for that. And you can't hold players back. You can't hold coaches back. The reality is they can just pay more over there and the quality of life is better here, of course, but you probably can triple your salary and there's the potential to earn more over there as well if he keeps doing well. Whatever he's on at Kyoto, you can probably double it or triple it or quadruple it. If you keep performing well over there, the money is limitless, to be honest. So it's good. It shows what Central Coast got him in for a couple of years. They won a championship, so he's delivered the goods. He's now got him a little bit of a transfer fee. I'm sure it's not ridiculous, but whether it's 3, 4, 500,000, it's still money back that they, if he was a free agent, they wouldn't have got. So good on them. Yeah. And going into our last game, the Wanderers against MacArthur, I think the Wanderers are probably really, even with the injuries they've got, they're the real deal again this year. A good turnout with the crowd as well for both of those games, but Wanderers are looking pretty strong.
Yeah, no, they look strong, I think, the whole way. I think they went through a little kind of dip, but no, they're a good side. Like, they've got great quality. Probably, if you're looking on paper, probably one of the best squads in the league, and a lot of depth, which they've needed with the injuries. But they got Ninkovic back. Borello, I read today, is apparently ahead of schedule as well. So be interesting to see when he comes back. But yeah, for me, again, like the standout, and I've spoken about him a lot this season, it was Milanovic. You know, the 2 assists. The first one was fair enough. It's a good run, ball over the top, and he squares as he should. But the second one was, you know, he's running with pace, little step over. He's playing with confidence, and good ball to the back post for Simmons.
It was a top ball.
Hey, the goal of the year, though. Goal of the year so far. 2 days in only. But best goal of 2024. That was unbelievable strike from Holman.
But I think what actually makes the goal worse was he didn't celebrate. Like, he scored this bomb, and I know they're 2-0 down, but it was like the 30th minute, 20th, whatever it was. Surely if you're scoring a bomb like that, you're like taking the top off, running around, like giving it to the one. Like, that was, it looked like it was training when you've just, like, you're pissed off at the end of a game and you know you've lost, so you've just shot, and then you don't even celebrate. But, like, I don't know if he's going to score many better goals than that. He's actually a really good player, but I don't know why he didn't celebrate. Maybe some of the MacArthur players need to get stuck into him and show him how to celebrate, because he'll probably be scoring a few more goals. But yeah, Wanderers ended up being stronger. And I guess the exciting thing for Wanderers fans is probably it's different from years gone by, is they're actually playing a lot of their young players. They're coming through with the injuries. They're getting games. Like, they've got a lot of injuries at the moment and players that are out. And Ninkovic obviously just came back, but you got Brillante out. You've got Borello out. So they've had to kind of, you know, shuffle things around. And some of the young players have looked really good. And even the Hendricks, the Dutch guy, he's a top signing. So yeah, I think they'll be up there with Victory for me and City. I think those three are, and when they're at their best, they're probably a bit above everyone else right now, but still a long way to go. And that's the A-League cap. So should we go on to our 2023 Aussie moments?
Yeah, top moments of the year. And it was, I suppose, it was an exciting year. A lot of things went on in 2023. Football here in Australia was huge, and I think that was emphasised, I think, by the Women's World Cup. And I think that's got to be one of the moments, or that's one of the moments that we have put in there. The FIFA Women's World Cup, basically what it kick-started for women's football, that was already on a trajectory that was going up, but I think that was just the tipping point for women's football. And I think the buzz that they've got from the back of that, and the Matildas doing so well. And I think there were so many moments, you know, the scenes around the country when you saw all the crowds flocking in, that were just, they're priceless, and what it did for the game and the fans and just the whole country, the way they got around it, and the support for other teams as well. The crowds that they were pulling in were unbelievable. The Courtney Vine penalty, there's so many moments. But yeah, that was a highlight for me.
I genuinely think you could have went top 5 moments could have been literally Women's World Cup, Matilda's first group stage game, Matilda's second groups. Like, it could have literally been those were literally and they actually were. They were the biggest moments. Whether you're looking at analytics, I'm sure, on socials, whether you're looking at views on TV, whether you're looking at, you know, tickets, whether you're looking at merchandise, whatever it was, people talking about it in the streets. Like, that was the moment, I think, that football, especially women's football, took off in this country, and hopefully inspired, which I know it has just from speaking to family and friends, it inspired, like, you know, little girls that weren't maybe sure about playing football, like my cousins or my wife's cousins' kids. They never played sport before. They did taekwondo. Now they play football. They wanted Matilda's jerseys. They wanted to go to the Adelaide United women's games. So if it wasn't for that, they wear the Mary Fowler gloves. I think for Book Week, they dressed up as her. So, like, that there goes to show the impact that's had. So that's number one. Like, it has to be, I think, hopefully we keep building on that, not just for the women's game, but for football in general. I think that's a great showing of the thirst and the hunger that's there for it. We just need the quality product. We need the right stadiums. We need the proper television. We need the right marketing. If you get all that right, football in this country can keep growing. I think the second one through, I guess probably the worst moment of 2023 leads us in. 2022 at the end leads us into one of the best moments. Was probably the reversal of the grand final decision. I think they made a mistake. They tried to do things what they thought was the best for the league. They got it completely wrong. Like they've obviously come out, they reversed the decision. So if they didn't get it wrong, they wouldn't have done that. And now we've got the Unite round, which we do have a giveaway. So make sure you're staying tuned for details around that. But that's exciting. Brings another round in for the season. And I think that can be another highlight going into 2024. Hopefully it's such a big success that everybody forgets about the poor or the wrong decision and is just focusing on the reversal.
Yeah, 100%. That was a big win, I think, for everyone around the country, players, fans, everyone. I think the only ones that maybe won't forgive it so quick are the Melbourne City fans, but that they're gonna have to cop that one, because that is one of the next moments, which was the Mariners grand final win. And I think after so many years of probably poor, subpar performances and seasons from Central Coast Mariners, to see them back up there, like the times when we were first coming into the league, when they're, being so successful under Arnie. And look, I think that was a massive highlight. And the turnouts that they get, like it's such a small place, the Central Coast, and when they're doing well, the support that they get, you saw on New Year's Eve, that the turnouts that they get and the community feel of that club, because it is such a small place, I think people really do get around it. And to see them back at the top was good to see.
Yeah, no, it was again, like you said, City fans will say there should be an asterisk next to that win, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Yeah, you go out there to perform. It was a neutral venue. I know it was in New South Wales, so obviously Central Coast had a lot more fans, but on the day, the best team won by far, and I don't think it had anything to do with the ground, because City would have been talking about it all week. Don't worry about it. We're playing a game. Let's just beat them. And Central Coast just hit, I guess, their hot streak, the right form at the right time. And there was so many good stories out of that, whether it was Trianta's young boy coming up, getting rejected. I think it was at Western Sydney. Now he's, produced, got his move. Then you've got next to him Caltech, a player that didn't get his chance until he was in his, mid-20s, and he's on fire. Farrell, McGarry was obviously playing as well. Then you've got Tulio, then you've got Silvera that got his move and is in so many kind of players that were there, that were great stories in itself. Obviously Nisbet and Ballard, and too many to kind of name. But yeah, that was a special moment, and it's probably projected Mariners up again, and that's why I guess the expectations are higher for them now to actually perform. So that was brilliant. And then we go, I think, is Nesta Irankunda getting his move to Bayern Munich. I think, him in itself, he broke out probably in 2022, you could say, but 2023 was really the moment when, he took his game to the next level, scored a lot of goals, and he had worldwide attention. For a player from Australia, at the age of 15 coming through, I think he's 17 now, but to get a move to Bayern Munich, that's every kid's dream. That's massive. That's massive.
Yeah. Young kid from Adelaide, and now he's at Bayern Munich. A couple of years ago, he wasn't even in this setup, and now he's heading over to Germany. That's just, that's probably one of the biggest moves in recent times. To a club like that, it's just huge, and we wish him all the best. I think we both speak about him a lot on the podcast, and we need to try and get him on actually before he leaves.
He asked me. He asked me.
You're training at the Reds now, so
he said
I always have a chat with him.
He said Garuccio's a good guy. I said, no, he's a shit guy. He's just being nice to get you on the podcast.
We'll get him on. We'll get him on for 10 or 15 minutes, because I don't know how well he's going to speak on here. It might be he probably won't rock up on time either, but that's another story. So we'll give the people what they want. People want to hear from him before he jets off. But
it'll be good.
The last one, I suppose, just the turnaround of Melbourne Victory, because I think it was a place towards the end of last season it wasn't a happy camp, and just everything that sort of went on with the club the season before, and obviously the performances weren't great. The position and the ladder wasn't great, but I think just the things happening with Ian, and I think a lot of people were a little bit concerned that, that's one of probably the biggest foundation clubs in the league, with their support and everything. It's just a little bit worrying, but I think the way they've started this season is unbelievable. And, it's the same coach like we've spoken about. It's a relatively very similar squad as last season. I think what they've been able to do at the start of this season has probably shocked everyone. I think they really flew under the radar before the season. We didn't really have too much to say about them in our first episode because they kind of just flew under the radar in pre-season. I think, they're delivering on the pitch this season, and I think it is good just to see the stands full at Amy Park when Melbourne Victory are playing.
Yeah, it's been massive. I think they, what they went through as a club, and obviously, again, it's kind of going into the one of the other big moments, obviously the reversal with the fans coming onto the field in the bucket. But it's great for Australian football to see them doing well, I think, because they're getting 15,000 regularly now. That's massive for the league. If they can push to 20,000 like they were, it's better for the league. And one big moment I reckon that we forgot, because we were just going to do A-League moments, but then we wanted to chuck in the Matildas, is Big Ange. I think Big Ange getting the Tottenham job. Like, I think we changed from A-League moments to obviously Australia, because we just wanted to chuck in Matildas and women's football. But Ange has to get he's probably number 2, to be honest, behind the Matildas. Yeah. What he's done, obviously the start of the year was a lot better with the first 9-10 games when they were unbeaten, but still, for an Australian manager to go from South Melbourne back in the day as a player, then as a coach, to go through his journey when you look at it, and now he's at Tottenham. Even if he was terrible, for him to get to that point, for him to get the belief of a club like Tottenham to want to appoint him as the manager, says enough of who he is as a coach and as a person. But he's now done extremely well. I think they're going to keep doing well. The media over there are kind of, they loved him at the start. I've read some people saying that he's fake now, and he's saying this stuff with the cameras. But at the end of the day, when you're a performer, you're an actor almost when you're a manager or a player. Yeah. And he plays the media so well. And I think he's just genuinely a good person. And the fans love him. So he's doing a lot right, and hopefully he does well, but make sure he stays just below Arsenal.
Yeah, he's definitely taken on that actor role. He's taken on the boxing role as well, actually, on the sidelines.
It's the first time he's been really animated, right? Every other game he's just sitting there,
fucking punching
calm.
on.
Oh, reminded me of me against Melbourne City when the assistant coach Powell was getting punched from Joey Didlitzer, I think it was.
When's that coming out in story time?
Oh, I think next time Melbourne City play Adelaide, it's in a couple of weeks, I reckon. We'll bring that one out, because it's at Amy Park. So we'll get the clips of that, and we can kind of go into that one. But yeah, that's a great segment into our story time this week.
This is the Inner Game Story of the Week. This segment is brought to you by the Inner Game Journals, started by none other than our co-host Stef Moore. The Athlete Performance Journals were created to help athletes of all abilities become more self-aware through goal setting and reflection. On or off the field, the mental side of the game is so crucial to help you feel and perform at your best. Head over to www.theinnergamejournals.com and use code FOOTBALLFRIENDS to get 15% off all products. If you're a club, school or academy, you're in luck. Stefan also runs workshops, and he's just released the app version, which will allow you to give direct feedback to players. Download the app for free today. Search The Inner Game on the App Store.
Yeah, the story, are we saying the story from you with Escagrill, or should we keep it Christmas themed? Which one do you want?
Well, I think we can just talk about, I guess, a lot of teams have their Christmas dues. It's very big in the UK, as I remember you telling me. Like, that's you go on a bit of a break then in Scotland anyway. Not so much if you're in the Premier League or League One, League Two, Championship. They play a lot more games, but the Christmas do is a big thing, right?
Yeah, but there actually isn't really a break. You get the winter break shortly after, but you don't actually really get a Christmas break. It's pretty like fucked, to be honest, because it's the busiest period, and teams and every single team in the whole of the UK is fitting this Christmas do it no matter what, non-negotiable.
It's on the team schedule.
Yeah, like, I don't know, obviously, like with the Premier League clubs, because they probably all end up actually going away when they get this little break now. A lot of teams go to Dubai or whatever, so they probably do more of a shindig there. But I know, like when you go further down the tree, I'm sure like League One, League Two, all of these, Scotland, and then you've got all the leagues in Scotland, Ireland, everywhere you go, Northern Ireland, they're all on their Christmas dues. So like no matter where you go in the country, like all around the UK, you're running into other football teams in pubs and things like that. And the first year I was there, we started like this is like another little sub story, but the first year I was there in Scotland, we were flying at the start of the year. We won our first, I think, 9 out of 10 games. We were flying. We had a Czech goalkeeper from the Czech Republic, and he goes, "Boys, I'm going to organise the Christmas do. Let's use that kitty money. We'll go to Prague." That's the city that he's from. He goes, "I'll organise 2 days." Unbelievable. We had 2 days off. We were like, "Fuck, all right, let's book it." So everyone started booking the flights, whatever. We used the kitty money. All the flights were booked. And we were playing Livingston away, and we were literally meant to leave after the game. I think we played at 3 p.m. kickoff. Anyway, before
and did the
that
club
period,
know? The club knew that you'd got a book? Yeah.
Club knew, and the fans knew as well, unfortunately, and I'll get to that. Before that, we started going on like a little bit of a kind of a shitter run. But Livingston were like not doing well that season. They were down the bottom, and we were just like, "Come on, boys, like just win this game." And then we're literally going straight to the airport. It's going to be 2 days in Prague. It's going to be unbelievable. I'm sitting there, I'm fucking like, I've never been to Prague before. I've never been to Czech Republic. I was buzzing. So I was like, yeah, this is top over here to do this. And then we played a game. We got slapped 4-0. And 4-0. As soon as I'm pretty sure I got dragged at halftime or something. I can't even remember. But yeah, it was not a good day out. I had too many of them in my career anyway.
Your mind was in Prague already.
Yeah, honestly, I think everyone's was. We were all in Prague. Like and all we wanted to do was just get like just a normal result. Like even like if it was a 1-1 draw or whatever, it wouldn't have mattered. Anyway, we get off the pitch and it's like dead silent in the sheds, and everyone's like looking at each other like, "Are we still going on this Christmas party?" Or anyway, we get on the bus after the game, and like basically there was like 3 or 4 boys that were like, "No, like boys, we shouldn't go." And like the tweets start coming in, like, and it was our fans saying like, "These fucking like players, they're going to Prague for 2 days. Like, if anyone sees them at the airport, like," and it was like, "Oh fuck, like we can't go." And the captain, the vice captain, and a couple of the other older players were like, "Listen, like, we can't, like, you can't go to that airport. Like, if you guys go to that airport and get seen there, like, it's done for us. Like, the fans they'll kill us," kind of thing. And then that was it. We didn't go. The Ryanair flight was going to Prague, and none of us were on it.
And Garuch was in his hotel with his tissues, wiping those tears away.
Honestly, we didn't go. But the year after we went down to Newcastle, caught the train down because it's quite close to Scotland, it's north. And we spent like 3 days there. We were just at pubs, just with drinking the Geordie girls all day. With no girls to be seen. No girls wanted to be anywhere close to the state of these football teams because everyone dresses up. It's like, it has to be fancy dress. So you've just got like 3 or 4 football teams in a pub, and it's just like hell for leather, just drinking all day. And then literally 2 days later, you play. It's
crazy,
nuts.
isn't it? Like,
it's crazy.
I guess as long as the tradition can stay, it's quite good. But when things like that happen, it's just hard. Like as a player, now, I'm sure back in the day, players could have done whatever they wanted because there's no social media, so nobody could ever find out about this stuff. If you went or you didn't go, maybe someone sees you at the airport. But all it is that mate telling someone else, "Oh, I saw Garuccio and a few of the other Hearts boys at the airport." It doesn't get leaked. You know, they're not. How are they going to get to the news? They're not going to get to Sky News or BBC and say, "Yeah, Hearts players are going to Prague." Like, it just doesn't get out. When nowadays you have to be so careful with literally everything. But yeah, that's that's I think something that I saw the Sydney FC players. That's why I thought I'd bring it up with the Sydney FC players. They do their dress up every year. There's not too many other teams that do it in the leagues here. But we thought it was a good time to bring out another night out. We spoke about, I think that was our first episode when we brought out you. So it's probably time where I look like I'm the unprofessional one. And what were we? I think we were 18. We had to be 18. We couldn't have drunk if we weren't 18, right? Or maybe we were 17 with the fake ID. But anyway.
We were 18.
We were 18. We were 18. And we got a dinner at Esker Grill. Paddy Kisnorbo, I think it was, organised there. Esker Grill, $50, which is a top place in Essendon. It's actually a really nice restaurant. And it was $50. I'm pretty sure it was $50 for food and unlimited drinks, which nowadays $50 isn't going very far. Never. Back then, that guy did us a pretty solid one, obviously. And we thought, all right, this is a big moment. We can impress the older boys. I think maybe Harry Kuehl was there then. Obviously Gisnorbo, maybe Engler, potentially Robbie Violart. I think it was that year.
Yeah. I think so. It was
big players. And for us, it was like, I know it's changed a lot and it's probably wrong, but back then, like, older players really did appreciate and respect you more if you came to team nights out or if you went to cafes and restaurants. And we didn't need to get as drunk as what we did. And we probably tried to keep up with them, and being so young and weighing 55 kilos back then, we couldn't handle the drinks. We probably started at home as well. Like, knowing us, so stupid. And it was probably 9 o'clock and I was like, oh, I don't feel so good. The drinking games are starting. And I just remember I went out the front because I was like, I got to go. Like, I got to get some fresh air. You came out there with me. I don't know if you remember, but I was like, I feel sick. And you're like, we just throw up then. I was like, I can't throw up. And you're like, just put your fingers down your throat. I'm like, I can't. And I'm pretty sure you were putting your fingers down my throat to make me throw up. Do you remember that?
No way. No,
yeah.
I do not remember that.
I'm telling you, you did. And then I was thrown up on the side of the road on, what's the road? Mount Alexander.
Mount Alexander.
And luckily nobody cares about football players, to be honest, because if I was playing for Hearts and that was happening, that's big. That's front page stories with Garuccio sticking his hand down Mork's throat to make him throw up. Instead, nobody gave a shit about us. They're probably just thinking, what are these two doing? And then I remember PK and that came out and said, well, you can't go home. You can't go home. You better not be the first one going home. And I was just remember thinking, oh shit, like, I got to sober up.
You went back in.
I think I had a coffee.
They ordered you a coffee, espresso. Yeah. They were like, get it with double espresso. And this guy's sitting there like this, double espresso. He's like, you have to keep you awake. That's too good, man. I actually did get the second wind in. We went out. I don't know what time we ended up going home, but I wasn't first home. And you know what? Probably after that, the older players thought, you know what? We'll pass him the ball now in training, and we'll give him a crack. So I earned a few stripes, which was great. But the disaster was the next day. We had our first aid course that it was through the PFA. They put it on for like 4 or 5 of us young boys. I think me, you, Jeremy Walker, Sam Mitchinson was it, and was there one more? Yeah, maybe wasn't Mark there? Was Mark there?
Marino. Oh, maybe Marino. I don't know. I can't even remember. Maybe I don't know. To be honest, I don't really remember too much of the first day because I got my certificate, but nobody go down around me because I don't remember anything. So we're sitting there, and it was like 8:39 in the morning. It was an early one, like a full day, 9 to 1 for footballers. That's a full day, and we're dusty. You're doing all right. I was the worst by far.
You've skipped the car ride there on the freeway.
What when I was getting out?
I'm gonna be sick. I
thought that was only on the way home, but it was probably both.
I think it was actually maybe me on the way there, to be honest. And then I was fine. I sat through the whole course. I was all right. I wasn't feeling my best, but I got through it.
And then this guy's talking, and he's honestly dribbling so much bullshit, like, whatever. Obviously, we're trying to save lives, so maybe you do need to be listening and whatever. He's going through, he's like, can you demonstrate? We're doing these ones. And I'm thinking, and then he's like, if it's a kid, do it a little bit with the fingers, you don't break his ribs. I was thinking someone give me CPR. I'm not feeling the best here. And then I've been like, no. Like, we had a few drinks breaks, and I think I had something to eat. And then I remember the next time he was talking, I was like, oh, I don't feel so good. I went to the toilet, and I was in there for like probably 20, 30 minutes. Like, I was just, I was on the cold. Longer. It was the tiles. It was like, oh, it was good to kind of like, it was disgusting now that I think about it. I'm like, got my on my hands and knees on the tiles, like being close to the ground in a public toilet. It's like, oh, disgusting. But then you've come in to check on me and said, hey, was it you that came in or did the main guy come in?
No, I think it was one of us. We said, like, because the guy, we're sitting in there, and after a while, the guy's like looking and go, is your friend all right? We're like, yeah, he's fine. He was just in the toilet. Like, it was, maybe go like check on him. So I think, one of us that came in. We were like, man, are you like all right? If you don't come back in, like, you're not going to get this certificate. Like, you have to sit in and actually listen to the thing. And you were like, you were nowhere.
Oh, it was one of those days where it was you just want to be on the couch, and instead you're doing CPR. I got back in there. We finished the day off. I got my certificate, which is great, you know, because I can say I've got my first aid certificate. So it's better. It's the only certificate I got, to be honest. Didn't get my year 12 certificate back then because I didn't finish with you. So first aid is as good as it comes when people ask for my qualifications. And then on the way home, I think I threw up again. I don't know if it was the car ride when you driving like a maniac, and then that was it. But it was one of those times where, like, you look back now and you think, like, why do you even care about trying to impress them? And it doesn't really obviously matter. But also in the moment when you're a young player, you wanted to act like you could handle it. And all of the older players would have been thinking, like, look at this guy, he's going to be throwing up. And I was throwing up, but I guarantee they also rated it at the same time. So it's
they rated it, but why did they do that to us? Because I see young boys going overboard when we have a team night out or something like that, and I'm like, hey, take it easy. You're going to be home in half an hour if you keep drinking at that pace. So anyway, it's fun in games. The boys they love stitching us up, but we also probably loved doing it to ourselves, and we couldn't really handle it. So they're funny stories, but I'm glad they're stories from the past.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'm in bed at 8:30 on New Year, so that shows the tale of where I'm at. But going into the next segment, which is our questions of the week.
All right, first one from at A-League Times for Stefan. Where's next for you?
Where's next? I'm going to play escape rooms with my family. Actually, that's why I've got to make sure we cut this short. But and I've been told I can't be late. But in a football sense, I'm buzzing for the escape rooms, Da Vinci Code. But in terms of football, I don't know, to be honest. I'm just waiting, to be honest, to see what comes up. I'm training with Adelaide United at the moment, and there's been a few teams obviously that have obviously sent some offers across. But ideally, I'd love to stay in Japan. I'm trying to get to J1 if possible, one of the lower teams there, or one of the real top teams in J2. That was my ambition. The agents kind of throwing the hook out in the Middle East and different parts of Asia and America as well. And I just want to try something new. I love the A-League. I love Australian football. That's why we're doing this podcast. But I feel like I'm not ready to come back just yet. But if I do, you know what? We'll probably announce it on the podcast first. I'll try and make sure that I get that in the deal. But we'll see. Either way, if I end up back here, I'll be excited to be here. But, you know, I still want to, our career's short. I still want to kind of experience new things, and being overseas is exciting. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Next question from at Doom Fractured Strawberry. Anyway, where do you think the leagues will be in 10 years? Do you think the second tier will improve the game overall? What do you reckon?
Oh, in 10 years, I think you got to listen to our NST chat, because I think we spoke about. Did you do a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan in that?
I think 10-year. I think we did it. No, I did a 10-year plan on the NST chat, and then we obviously had Nick on last episode who spoke about that. So yeah, that sums it up. I think in 10 years, for sure, the game will be better. I think it has to be better, and I honestly reckon the two leagues by then, whether below, I reckon they'll be connected in some way or shape. It will be connected, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to see a full pyramid in 10 years. 10 years is a long time. 10 years is a long time. Even if there's nothing for 6-7 years, I think we'll probably see the NST connect with the MPL before we see the NST connect with the A-League. And so I think once that's kind of done, then the final piece of the puzzle is NST connecting with the A-League and having a promotional relegation. And that's what we all want. And it's going to make the league better. It's going to make Australian football better. So, I think we'd like to see that in 10 years.
Yeah, I think the same, men's and women's. I think having them both open pyramid, again, it makes it harder. But if we can, more opportunities for players. If the pyramid's connected, everybody's interested. We're all kind of pushing in that one direction, and it's just going to create more fans of the one game, which is football. So let's see. But then we go into our next one, which is at random AL players. What would you say is the toughest away game in the A-League based on the home fans making it difficult in a difficult environment rather than the travel demands? So just home fans alone.
Yeah. I think it's pretty easy for me. Adelaide away or Victory away.
Really? Yeah, wow.
Oh, who would you say?
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, Adelaide away is tough when I've been at the other teams. I think it's actually a really tough ground, especially if they score. And late in games. There was a couple of seasons where they were just scoring last minute winners. I think I was there then actually, so it was good to be on the winning side. But Victory away right now, I would say, and even speaking to the Adelaide players and Nick Ansell, who played for Victory, he copped a lot of stick the last time they played against Victory from some fans. But he was saying when you play for Victory, you don't actually realise how intimidating and how loud the crowd is until you're on the other side. So Victory. But I reckon the old, what was it, Parramatta, Pertex Stadium, whatever it was called. Western Sydney, when they had Ono and Moy was there then. I just remember that one game when we were there. I was 17th man, so I was sitting in the stands that game. But Moisey scored, I reckon it was, and it was so loud. Like, it was actually and you could see our players. Like, our players were shitting their pants out there after that goal went in, and then I think they scored again straight afterwards. So it's that was the best.
That was a European. That's a European atmosphere. That was ridiculous. Yeah. All four stands singing, like no active bay. There was an active bay, but the whole place was an active bay.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
And I hope they can get back there. I know the new stadium's unbelievable, but they need to get that culture back. But we'll go one more. I think this is not a bad one. Before we wrap it up, but at Huddoes, Huddoes. It's a strange name, but anyway. Why are players coming back to the A-League from Euro after minor setbacks? Is it just too easy, homesick, lack of resilience? What's your thoughts on this? Because they might be different to mine.
I think it's very easy. I think it's lack of resilience. For some, it might be homesick. Some people do get homesick if you've never been away before, especially for younger players that are leaving their families for the first time. Like, an Aaron Kunda's probably a perfect example of that. There definitely could be some homesickness there, but I think if you're there for the reasons that you have worked your whole life for, you always understand that, yes, there are going to be tough times. Yes, there is going to be a little bit of homesickness at times, but also you've devoted your whole life to make this happen, and this has been your goal since you were probably 3 or 4 years old. So not so much homesickness. I think it's definitely lack of resilience that we have. I think we do have it very, very good in this country. We've spoken about this multiple times on the pod, and we do have it so good here in this country. But even in terms of support, the numbers, they're not the same as what they are overseas in Europe. The demands probably aren't as high from fans. And as hard as that is sometimes, we need that to make our players more resilient. We need that to emulate a European environment so that when we go over there, we're ready for it. Because I know for a fact when the South Americans come and play, just like what Bruno said, it's going to be 40,000 here in the stadium. Are you going to be okay? And he said, Mister, I've played in front of 60,000 people that want to kill you. He said, why you think that's going to intimidate me? So having that base here in our own backyard is what's going to make that better for us Australian players. But I hope that we can see more going over there and staying over there. But I think that's definitely the nature of it at the moment.
Yeah. I think the biggest one is just it's easy in the A-League, and not from a bad point of view, but you go from being, you're the main man. Like Tilio, for example. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know him too well. But, he's gone from being the poster boy of the league. He's in the Socceroos. He's flying at City. He's scoring. you feel good about yourself as a player, to going to then one of the biggest clubs in the world in Celtic. He was injured when he got there. It's very tough. You've got 5 or 6 players probably in your position that you've got to beat to get there. And all of a sudden you're a no one. I think for me, that's really hard to take because, just so you imagine you in your work, if you're doing really well, the boss loves you, and then you go to a new job and they're like, who's this guy? You start from ground zero. Nobody cares about you. And you do that for 6 months away in a new environment, a new country with no friends, no family, probably. It's fucking hard. Like, it's actually really hard. And coming back to the A-League, because it's financially still okay and it is a good league, players think, well, I'll just go back there to play. And if the A-League, which is impossible, if we were based in Europe and the same scouts were going to watch, the Swedish league or the Danish league is what watches the A-League, it would be no problem to go back to the A-League because you can still get picked up and moved somewhere else. But the problem is when you come back here, you're really lowly regarded, I guess, back in Europe. So I think that's something that we need to get the players to stick it out. And it's hard because, every A-League team would take a Tilio in a heartbeat. So they're going to be trying to get it. They don't care. So it's
funny
a hard
though,
one.
like we answer this question, we say the right thing, but look at both of us, we both went over, we both came back. It's not, I think you also got to realize that it's not always what we're saying here. I think a lot of the time what we're saying here, yes, but there are certain things that happen in football. Look, you can't predict the way some things will pan out. Some players probably wanted to stay and didn't have opportunities to stay. So it's a lot of different things. We can't just put it down to one thing. But I think that's something that definitely affects the way our mentality is as Australian footballers compared to players that have, been brought up with they experience it. They've gone to games throughout their junior football and they've seen crowds and they've seen and experienced all of those things, whereas we don't get the exposure to that as much.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a wrap. As we've mentioned a couple times on here, the Unite round's coming up. Big giveaway. Keep on our socials. Ben's going to tell you exactly where you can find us. Obviously, you're listening to us, so you somehow got onto our podcast. But he's going to tell you where to be following to make sure you're in the draw or with a chance to win the tickets to the Unite round.
Yeah, I think we'll be probably doing it sometime next week, whether that's on the podcast. We want to give people the time to actually be able to organise themselves and be able to go. But guys, it's a great giveaway. It's an awesome giveaway. If you haven't seen it yet on our socials, jump onto it because you can have a chance to win it and you get to go to Unite round and watch your favourite team. So follow us. We're at Football Friends Pod on Insta and TikTok. We're at Ben and Stef Pod on X and Football Friends with Ben and Stef on YouTube. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Happy New Year again, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, friend.
Fuck you lot, where's the beer?